Please welcome Ken Kirzinger. It is great to have you back. Got a microphone down for you again.
Great to be back. Nice to see all your smiling faces.
It is awesome to have you back here. You know how this works. We can take questions. We can hang out. We can tell stories, whatever you're comfortable with.
Let's start with some questions that might lead to some stories, and we'll go from there.
Let's do it right down front. An enthusiastic question.
It's kind of off. Have you ever messed with the people on your set when you're in costume? Maybe they think it's just a costume and then you scare them. Have you ever done anything, pranks like that?
You know what? I didn't really do that much on Freddy versus Jason, but there's a famous story about there was one day, the one day that I had to wear all the Jason makeup, and so they got the fake teeth. And they forgot to put Vaseline on my teeth, so when they pulled the fake teeth out, it actually pulled a bridge out, and they were mortified. And they're, oh my God, we got to get to a dentist right away. So they take me to a dentist's office, and I'm in full makeup. and we get into and I got a hoodie on, and I'm walking in the building, and there's one woman in the waiting room, and she's reading a newspaper. So she doesn't see me when I come in, and my voice is all normal and everything like that. So then I'm sitting down across from her. Finally, she lowers the paper, turns the page, just looks up, puts the paper up in front of her face. And I said, "Don't worry, it's I'm normal. It's just makeup." And she, "Oh, I thought they found you in a sewer someplace." Close.
Excellent. That's the way to start off. Next question, way back there. While these headed back there, I have a quick question for you. So you started out doing more stunt work and then into the acting. Did your stunts change at all as far as like less dangerous or?
I think when you're younger stuntman, you get harder stunts. You tend not to take as many of the car hits and real bone breaker stunts as you get older, usually because you get injured as you're coming up. So those tough stunts you kind of pass off to the young guys. It's a rite of passage. But you still get injured. Stunt work, the injury rate in stunt work is 100%. If you're going to do stunt work, you're going to get injured. It's like playing pro football. You can't, you just can't avoid it.
Yeah. What kind of insurance policies are there on stunt people?
Our union has an insurance plan and stuff like that. Yeah, it's unfortunate sometimes because stunt people have their careers ended because of one stunt that's gone wrong. And it tends to happen less and less these days, but it still happens. I mean, there was a young girl who was killed doing a motorcycle stunt on Deadpool not long ago, and another stunt woman who lost her arm and came very close to being killed doing another motorcycle stunt on, I can't remember the name of the series of movies, but, and then there's all the injuries you don't hear about. The stunt guy breaks a bone, breaks his ankle doing a jump or whatever. I mean, that never makes the paper, and that's pretty par for the course as far as stunt work goes. Higher, closer. Okay.
I wanted to, but thank you. I appreciate it. Now mine went out. What did you do? We'll use this. I can always count on this.
Okay.
But needless to say, as far as the stunt work that you've done, how did you get into this?
I read an article about a famous stuntman named Hal Needham. And Hal Needham was the stunt guy they based... well, he did Hooper, that's right. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt's character is based on Hal Needham. I just found that out not long ago. But he was a very famous stunt guy. Read an article about him, and I just thought, you know what, I think I would love to do that. So I read that when I was like 12 years old. And I plugged it away in the back of my head, and went into college playing football, blew my knee out. And so I thought I'd go down to Los Angeles, look into becoming a stuntman. And my sister was living there. Her next door neighbor was the property master on Fall Guy, the TV series.
Wow.
He gave me the phone number of one of the stunt guys on the show. I called him. He gave me a contact in Vancouver, Canada, where I'm from. And got back, and then I think it was like 3 weeks later, I was working on my first movie, Superman 3.
Wow. What was it like doing it for the first time? What did you really expect? You knew you were going to get hurt? Did you expect? I mean, there had to be a million questions going through your mind when you were doing your first stunt work.
You get nervous, but it's just like playing when you're a kid. only you have to hit your marks, and you've got to be looking the right direction and everything like that. But the first stunt I actually did was they blew up a building on, there was a chemical refinery disaster in Superman 3, and I was one of the firemen, and when they blew out the corner of the building, I got blown over. And so it wasn't a difficult stunt, and you're just so excited to be there, because if you really love what you do, it's not work. And so it was something that I'd really thought about a long time. I was 21 at the time, and I'd thought about being a stuntman for years and years, right? So what a great opportunity, and no, I just had fun with it.
Do you remember seeing your first stunt on film?
You know what? I went and looked, and I think it's like that. Me and another stunt guy getting blown over to the ground, and I was a little bit disappointed when I went and saw it. But no, it's fun to do, and there's a little piece of history there because that film goes on and on and on. Yeah.
Well, let's get back to...
We actually have a couple questions here.
I'm sorry, I was hanging out.
Hate to take away from your time, but question right here for you.
Hey, Ken. I'm just kind of curious. There's been a whole lot of rumors on why you were Jason and Freddy versus Jason. Can you, clear the air? Because I heard one of them was because Kane Hodder was too short or because he was too shorter than Robert Englund. Then I heard something happened and nobody else could do it.
Well, I've heard stories, too. When I went into interview, for the stunt coordinating job because I'd been the coordinator on number 8, and they had called me in, and I was sitting across from the producer, and he was just looking at me but not listening to me, and he goes, "You know what? You're about the right size and build and everything that we've been looking for," and he told me that they had been auditioning a lot of people and everybody because they wanted to be specific about the movements and stuff like that. So he goes, would you be interested in auditioning for it? And really my first question was, well, what about Kane? And he just said, well, we want to go a different direction. Now the fact that I'm that much taller than Kane, and then they put me in boots and wanted me even taller, kind of says to me that they were looking for somebody much more taller. Another story I heard was Ronnie Yu. His only experience with the Friday the 13th franchise was a comic book, and when he looked at the comic book, Jason in the comic book, which was much taller. So that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Another question for you right here.
Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Oh, okay. I've been a big fan for a long time. Thank you for coming today.
Oh, my pleasure.
My question is, out of all the work that you've ever done, what's the project you're most proud of?
Ooh. Probably, because I think like a stuntman, but the 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas was it was a huge project. We had hundreds of stunt people. It was horses. It was swords. It was on location 6 days a week. It was 16-hour days. I always told the stunt guys, they said, when this is over, you'll be glad you did it when it's done, kind of thing. But it turned out really well, and I was really happy with that one. So that jumps out.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Question right up front here.
Right up front, we got you next.
You mentioned the 13th Warrior, and that's a very underrated film. Terrific movie.
Yeah.
Who directed most of that? Was it John McTiernan, and then Michael Crichton did the reshoots on it? Is that how it went?
Yes, I think that's probably how it went. John McTiernan was going through a lot when that movie was getting made, and personally and stuff. But I remember going to set one day, and it was the first day of shooting, and he walked onto set, and they had built the set for part of the battle scene later in the movie, and he's like, "What? We can't shoot on this. The village doesn't look like this until later in the movie," and so we got shut down. There's a lot of disorganization in that movie, but McTiernan's a good director, and I thought he did a really good job. I think he butted heads a little bit with Crichton at the end, and Crichton ended up finishing it. Yeah, it was awesome to get to meet him.
Any other questions?
I have a quick one, real quick.
Yeah.
Are there any difference between stunts that you see in film and stunts that are done for television?
Not really. No. No. The effects are pretty much the same. No, not.
Even though the budgets might be different?
Well, I mean, that just determines whether or not you're going to blow up 10 guys or 100 guys, you know. But, you know, generally TV's cheaper. But you see a lot of the superhero TV shows and stuff like that. They do a lot of ratchets, and the ratchets are really hard on stunt people.
I don't know what a ratchet is.
So they hook a cable to you and to a piston, and it yanks you across the room.
Oh.
And they can yank a car across the room. So a person is no problem at all. And when you're flying across the room and hitting solid objects, that can do some damage on stunt people. So we didn't do a lot of those. You know, I did a few, but not nearly as many as they're doing for these action TV series now.
Okay, let's grab some more questions. We have one right down the middle and one over there. Do we have anyone right here? Nope. Okay, I thought we'd just save them a few steps.
You first. Here we go.
My question is, with all these new and younger generations just now getting into horror, what are your thoughts on seeing younger fans that are now, you know, into Freddy and Jason and other horror movies?
It never ceases to amaze me that, you know, Freddy versus Jason finds the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. I mean, it was made almost 20 years ago, and I think you had your son up at my table, and you know, he's 5, 6 years old, I think. And you know, he's a big Freddy versus Jason fan, so that blows my mind. That's awesome.
What was the premiere of that movie like?
The premiere was, so the first one I went to was in Texas, and it was outdoor, and they had put on a summer camp, Camp Hack and Slash summer camp, and they had a big screen set outside, and it was the first time that Robert and I think, had ever seen the movie. And during the day, they had all the fans there who were Freddy fans making Freddy gloves, and Jason fans making Jason masks, and there was a big barbecue, and Robert and I pull up in a limo and get out, and it's thousands of people. And so that's my first experience with sort of the fame of playing Jason. And we watched the movie, and when Freddy did something the Freddy fans liked, they'd throw the gloves up in the air, and it was kind of like one of these. You know? And then the Jason fans would throw the Jason masks up in the air. But I mean, that was a really great way to see the movie for the first time. Yeah. And then, of course, then there was the Hollywood premiere, which was everything you'd expect, you know, the red carpet and all that. So that was fun too, you know, experiencing that.
That's amazing that they actually went through all that trouble of making that so much fun, the original premiere.
The hype for it was so big. It had been anticipated for so long, ever since Freddy's glove came up and grabbed the Jason mask and dragged it under. People had been waiting for it, and it had been like 10 years. And you know what, I think that if they do get around to making another one, you know, the fans are going to be there. You're going to have generations of fans who are waiting to see it.
Another question right here for you.
Back here.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
So throughout your career, even from the 80s into the 90s movies, even from small roles and stunts, what would you say was your most horrific stunt you've ever done, or even coming across a stunt where you've just been like second guessing every moment of it before you did it?
Well, I guess what jumps out in my mind is stunts technically aren't supposed to. You're not supposed to get hurt. You're not supposed to. You know, if everything goes right, you're not supposed to get hurt. So it's the stunts that go wrong that stick out in my mind. And there's one in specific. I was doing a car chase, and I was actually doubling a guy who was 7'2" in an open Jeep with a roll bar that came up to about here, and. I was wearing a wig, he had curly hair and stuff like that. We were doing this big chase on the side of a mountain. And there's a scene where I'm supposed to come up and bang the bad guy's limo, and they're supposed to slide off the side of the road, and then I'm supposed to chase this semi that's ahead. So I bump the limo, and he's supposed to slide off the side of the road. Well, he slides right in front of me. My Jeep hits his car and flips upside down onto the road, goes back onto its wheels, and off the side of the mountain. And I had thought about this ahead of time, because I was just wearing a lap belt. And I thought, if this thing flips, what am I going to do? How am I going to save myself? And the only thing I could think of was just throw my arms up over my head. That saved my life because I fractured my elbow, but I bent the driver's seat back. I tore the watch face off that I was wearing on the pavement. The wig got half torn off. And so after the Jeep went off the side of the mountain, it had a high-performance engine in it. And I wasn't knocked out, but I was dazed, and the thing idled itself back up the hill and onto the road. And I remember thinking to myself, I got to stop this before I drive off the other side, and lifting my foot way up in the air and stomping on the brake, and then hearing women screaming because they thought that I had torn the top of my head off. And so that was very, very close to ending my stunt career. And I came back the very next day and finished it up. Yeah.
A couple questions over here.
I have a quick one, though. I want to follow up on
a lot of quick.
So when a stunt goes wrong, and is there ever a time the director goes, wow, we're going to keep that instead?
Yes, that can happen for sure. They don't do it usually if somebody's killed.
Don't do that.
But no, there's been broken bones and sprains and stuff like that. They've used the footage. There's a scene in Hideaway where I was doubling Jeff Goldblum, and they wanted to do a shot. So imagine. It's about the right height. So they wanted to do a shot. They had the camera down low, and they had me and the other stunt double for the actor. And they said, "Okay, we want you to flip down, land on the ground from this height." So the trick to that is to get your feet down first. Flip over, get your feet down, and that sort of helps break your fall. I didn't do that time. I didn't get my feet down fast enough, and I fractured 3 vertebrae in my back. And that little bit of footage up to the point where I'm pushing the stunt guy off going, no, I broke my back. There's a little snippet of that. You can see me when I hit the ground, and you can see the pain on my face. It's pretty quick, but they use that footage. Yeah.
A couple questions over here.
Hey Ken, thank you for coming here today and for your signature.
Yeah.
My question to you is, what was the best scene on Freddy vs. Jason that you had a hard time with?
The one that I had the hardest time with?
Yes.
Yes.
It sounds funny, but it was the sinking into the lake at the end, because it was in a pool and they had put debris in the pool, and the pool was full of chlorine, like heavy chlorine, like stinking burn your nose chlorine, and they wanted me to do it, with my eye open, and for as long as I could, and it was just like burning and little bits of wood getting in there, and that was a pain in the ass. But the rest of it was fun. It was like, because Jason is a stuntman, he doesn't say a lot, but so he's all action.
Okay. She's got a question for you right here.
Sure.
Hi, Ken. Joyride is actually one of my favorite road trip movies. What was your favorite part about filming that movie?
Joyride 3. I actually worked on Joyride 2 as well, but I was the stunt double for Rusty Nail. My favorite part of 3... it just jumps into mind. But the scene where I shove the guy into the blades of the engine, and I'm like spouting Bible or something like that, and he's getting chopped up. I thought that was a pretty good kill. I thought the director of that movie came up with some really great, innovative kills with the truck. That was the thing. If you're going to kill somebody, you had to do it with the truck. There's that and the snow chains squishing the guy's head.
Yeah.
Pretty innovative.
Another question over to your right here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for coming. Did you have a favorite Friday the 13th movie growing up?
My favorite one growing up, because I saw the first one when it came out, so I'm going to say the first one. It just sort of set the tone, and everything else came from that. So I'm going to say the first one. Yeah, I was a big, I loved horror movies growing up, sneaking out of bed on Friday nights at 11 o'clock to watch Thriller Chiller Theater. And so that was it.
So in Freddy vs. Jason, obviously you were Jason, but were there scenes where Robert had a stunt double, or did most of the stuff? Was that between you and Robert?
Robert's very game for pretty much anything, but you got to take into consideration at the time, his age, and there were things that they wanted that character to do that Robert would have had to go through a lot of training for. So he did have a stunt double for some of the fighting, but he was with me in that burning building, man. And it got hot. I remember sort of cowering away from the heat, and the wig hair was starting to melt, but Robert's very game. I don't think he would say no, but so you kind of got to say no for him. But yeah.
Any other questions?
There's one back there.
Where?
Got time for a couple more.
I see red shirt.
I'm on my way.
Okay, got time for a few more. Then you're headed back to your table to sign, or
I'm going to nip into the green room for a bit, and then I'll be headed back to the table. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, question way back here for you.
In Freddy's versus Jason, which scene was your most favorite scene to shoot?
It's got to be the fight scene at the end. It's what everybody's waiting for, right? And it's a big long scene. It's the climax of the movie. They got really creative with the fight scene. Everybody always said, at the beginning when the movie was announced and all that, well, how's Freddy going to fight Jason? Jason's just so much bigger than him. He'll kill him. And Ronnie Yu is he's from Hong Kong, and he's studied martial arts, and he knows that just because you're the bigger man doesn't mean that you're going to win the fight. And so he made Freddy quicker and Jason stronger, but that was my favorite part because they balanced it out really well, and I think really gave the fans what they wanted to see, the big battle between Freddy and Jason. It made it work.
I got one quick question before we end. How do you prep for stunts like the night before? Is there a certain ritual you go through? Is there a certain diet? Is there certain training? Or is there a certain mindset you get into?
Not usually.
It's just what happens?
You've done all your practicing and everything. If you're going to flip a car, you've already flipped a car, so it's not, just go out and hit your marks. Obviously, if you're going to be doubling an actor for a specific movie that requires specific stunts, then you'll train harder for them. You may want to, build up endurance for if you've got big, huge, long fight scenes or special type of driving, drift driving. You might go out and practice drifting more. If there's specifics, but in general, that's one of the things I loved. I have a big stunt bag. I mean, it's huge. You could easily fit a small person in it, and it had everything in there I needed to do most of the stunts that I could do. I could do everything from rappelling to fire gags to the fight scenes, car rollovers. It was all in that bag, so somebody could call me, wouldn't even have to tell me what I was doing. I could show up and just do it, and so that was one of the things I really liked about it.
Well, thank you so much for coming
My
back
pleasure.
again.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. You could do better than that.
Let me give you.
You could do better than that, Kirzinger.
This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.